Rain fell hard that day. I remember because I couldn't see through the windshield wipers fast enough. The police car pulled into the driveway, and I knew before they knocked. Marissa had called them. My sister, my own blood, had weaponized the legal system against me. I stood in the doorway watching the officers approach, their uniforms dark and official. Behind them came the social worker, clipboard in hand. My stomach twisted. They had a court order. I didn't know that until that moment. A court order I had never been served, never had a chance to fight. Emma was playing with blocks in the living room. She didn't understand yet what was happening. I heard her voice, bright and innocent. "Mommy, who's at the door?" Those would be the last words she said to me for years. That question would replay in my mind 1,000 times. I tried to smile for her. My hands shook as I turned around. "Come here, baby." Emma ran to me, her little arms wrapping around my legs. She was 10 years old and had never known any mother but me. That's when everything shattered. The beginning was different. 10 years before that rainy day, Marissa knocked on my apartment door at midnight. She was thin, her eyes wild, her clothes torn. I could smell the alcohol and something else, something broken. In her arms was a newborn, sleeping and peaceful, completely unaware that her mother was falling apart. "Please," Marissa begged. Her voice cracked like old leather. "Just until I get clean. Just a few months. Please, Caroline." I was 32 years old and had never planned to be a mother. I had built my life around work and independence and the kind of peace that comes from being alone. But I looked at that baby's face. She was so small, so defenseless, and her mother was clearly drowning. I stepped aside and let Marissa in. I made tea while she cried. I held the baby while Marissa told me about the boyfriend who left, the job she lost, the apartment she couldn't afford anymore. By 3 in the morning, I had found blankets for the baby and set her in a makeshift bed beside my couch. I named her Emma that first night. My sister left her birth certificate and insurance information on my kitchen table along with a note. "Please take care of her. I'll call you from rehab." She never called. But Emma woke at dawn, and her tiny eyes found mine, and I felt something shift inside my chest. Something permanent. I whispered to that sleeping baby, "You're safe now. I promise." Days turned into weeks and weeks became months. I called Marissa's phone number dozens of times. It went to voicemail. I called the rehabilitation center where she said she was going. They had no record of her. I filed temporary custody papers through the state, unsure if I was doing anything right, but knowing I needed legal protection. Emma needed legal protection. My mother called me one evening while I was giving Emma her bath. "You're being foolish," she said without preamble. "Getting this attached to a child that isn't yours. You're setting yourself up for heartbreak." I held the phone between my shoulder and ear while Emma splashed in the water, giggling at the bubbles. "She is mine," I said quietly. "As much as any child is. She calls me mommy. She trusts me. How do you not fall in love with that? How do you hold a child every single day and not become her mother?" My mother sighed. "You're going to get hurt." I looked at Emma's face reflected in the bathroom mirror. Her skin was clean. Her hair was wet and dark. She was looking up at me with complete trust, the way children do when they know they're safe. "Then I'll get hurt," I said. "But she won't be hurt. Not while I'm alive." I was right about one thing. I would get hurt. I just didn't know how much. Marissa reappeared 2 years after she left Emma with me. It was a Saturday morning and I was making pancakes. Emma was sitting at the kitchen table, swinging her legs because her feet didn't touch the floor yet. She was 4 years old and had never been without me for more than a few hours. When Marissa knocked, I knew immediately who it was. Some part of me was always waiting for her to come back. I opened the door and there she was. She looked better than when she left. She was clean. She was wearing makeup. But her eyes were still restless, still searching for something I couldn't name. "Hi," she said, smiling at me like we were old friends meeting for coffee. I didn't smile back. "Hello, Marissa. Is Emma here?" "I came to see my daughter." My chest went tight but I stepped aside. Emma saw her mother and didn't recognize her. That was the saddest part. Marissa tried to hug her, but Emma buried her face in my side. Marissa's expression flickered, hurt, anger, then back to the smile. Later that afternoon when Emma was napping, Marissa asked me for money. $2,000. She said she needed it for a new apartment, for a fresh start. She promised she'd get clean, get a job, get her life together. She promised she'd take Emma back soon. I gave her the money. I wrote the check with my hand steady, but my heart was already breaking. As I watched her drive away, I noticed Emma's baby blanket was missing from the couch. I didn't realize until later that Marissa had taken it. Her first theft wasn't money. It was a piece of memory. Piece of me. Emma and I painted her bedroom walls pale yellow that spring. She was too short to reach the top, so I held her up while she laughed and made brushstrokes across the wall that looked like nothing and everything at once. I bought her a bed with pink sheets, a dresser, and a small bookshelf. I hung her artwork on every available surface. Stick figures that were supposed to be us, houses with crooked chimneys, rainbows with 17 colors. This was our house now. I had saved for 3 years to buy it. It was small and old with creaky floorboards and a back porch that needed repairs. But it was ours. I painted my name on the mailbox. Miss Caroline Hale. Below it I added, and Emma. When Emma started school, I walked her to the classroom on the first day. Her teacher, Mrs. Morrison, smiled at both of us. "And who is this?" she asked, already knowing but asking anyway because that's what teachers do. "This is Emma," I said. "I'm her mother." The words felt strange and right at the same time. I signed all her school papers as mother. I attended parent-teacher conferences. I helped her with homework. I braided her hair in the mornings. I was the person who knew she was allergic to peanuts, that she had a birthmark on her left shoulder, that she was afraid of thunderstorms but wouldn't admit it to other kids. The past seemed to vanish. Marissa seemed like a dream I'd had once, a bad dream that had left no fingerprints. Emma was 5, 6, 7 years old and she was happy. That was all that mattered. Then Marissa called. She was in a rehab center in Oregon, and she wanted to see her daughter. She said she was really getting clean this time. She said she wanted to be a mother. She said she missed Emma. I drove her to the facility on a Saturday afternoon. Emma fell asleep in the back seat, her head against the window. I remember looking at her face in the rearview mirror and feeling afraid. I didn't want to share her with Marissa. I didn't want Emma to know that there was another woman who had a biological claim on her. But I also knew that Marissa was her mother. Legally, biologically, she was Emma's mother. I helped Emma out of the car, held her hand and walked into the visitation room. Marissa was waiting, and when she saw Emma, her eyes filled with tears. Some of them were probably real. She held Emma and told her about the things they would do together when she got out. She told her she loved her. She told her she was sorry for being gone so long. Emma listened, polite but distant. She kept looking back at me. Later in the car, Emma asked, "Is she coming to live with us?" "I don't know, baby," I said honestly. "Maybe someday." But I was terrified of someday. I was terrified of losing her. The letter came 3 years after Emma started school. It was from a lawyer, written on official letterhead. Marissa was suing for full custody. She claimed I had kidnapped her daughter and was refusing to return her. She claimed Emma was suffering from being separated from her biological mother. She demanded full custody and threatened me with jail time if I didn't comply. My hands shook as I read it. I called every lawyer in the phone book. Most of them told me the same thing. I had no legal standing. Emma wasn't adopted. I had no parental rights. Marissa was her biological mother, and the courts would likely side with her. One lawyer, an older woman named Patricia, told me something different. She said I had a chance if I could prove that Marissa was unfit, if I could show abandonment, abuse, neglect. But it would be expensive. Very expensive. I didn't have that kind of money. I spent the next 2 weeks terrified. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I lay awake at night listening to Emma breathe, knowing that every night might be one of the last ones I had with her. I thought about hiding. I thought about running. I thought about taking Emma and disappearing into a new life where Marissa would never find us. But I couldn't do that. Emma deserved to know her mother. And even though I was afraid, I believed that the truth would protect us. I believed that a judge would see what was obvious, that I was her mother, and Marissa had abandoned her. I was wrong about that. I was so wrong. The courtroom was cold. I sat at the table with Patricia, and I told my story. I talked about the night Marissa dropped Emma off. I showed the court the letters I'd written, the photographs, the school records, the medical bills I'd paid. I talked about 10 years of birthday cakes and scraped knees and fevers at 3 in the morning. I talked about love. The judge listened. His expression was neutral. He looked like a man who had heard 1,000 stories and believed none of them. Then Marissa's lawyer spoke. He was younger than me but wore his certainty like a weapon. Your Honor, he said, this woman is not Emma's mother. She is her aunt who took custody without permission. The biological mother has completed rehabilitation. She has secured employment. She has a home. She is ready to provide for her child. He didn't talk about love. He talked about logistics. The judge looked at me. Do you have any legal documentation proving you are the child's mother? No, Your Honor, I said. But Then you have no legal standing, he said. He brought his gavel down. Custody is awarded to Marissa Hale, the biological mother. I heard Patricia whisper something next to me. I didn't hear what she said. I was too busy watching my entire world collapse. The day they took Emma away was the day I understood what it meant to die while still breathing. I held her in my arms while the social worker stood nearby, waiting. Emma didn't understand why she couldn't come home with me. She didn't understand that the woman who had given birth to her had won the right to erase me. I don't want to go, Emma cried. Her small hands clutched my hair, my shirt, anything she could hold on to. Mommy, please. I want to stay with you. I whispered against her hair. You'll always find me. No matter what happens, you'll always find me. I promise. I meant it. But I didn't know if I could keep that promise. I slipped a locket around her neck. Inside was a picture of the two of us. I had taken it at the beach 2 summers ago. We were both laughing, both real, both happy. Both mother and daughter in every way that mattered. Marissa ripped it off Emma's neck before they reached the car. I watched her do it. I watched her take away the only piece of me that Emma was allowed to carry. She threw it into the dirt. I stood in the driveway for a long time after they left. I didn't move. I didn't cry. I stood there like a ghost in my own life, which I guess is what I became. A ghost. Dead to Emma. Dead to the world. Dead to myself. A mutual friend of mine and Marissa's told me what happened. She heard it at a coffee shop and called me because she thought I should know. Marissa had told Emma that I died in a car crash. She said my car went off a bridge. She said I was gone forever and it was no one's fault, it was just a terrible accident. I screamed when I heard that. I screamed so loud that my neighbors called the landlord to check if I was okay. I wasn't okay. I would never be okay again. Emma had created a story in her mind where I was dead. She mourned me. She probably asked Marissa questions about me, about what it was like when I was alive, about whether I loved her. And Marissa, my sister, had turned me into a ghost story, a sad memory, a woman who had vanished. The worst part was that some version of it was true. I had vanished. I had died in her memory. I was a ghost now, invisible, insubstantial, gone. I went to work the next day and told my boss I needed to leave. I couldn't focus on marketing reports and client meetings. I couldn't pretend that anything mattered anymore. He was understanding. He said I could take whatever time I needed. I didn't go back for a year. Emma's toys sat in cardboard boxes in my garage for months. I couldn't throw them away. I couldn't donate them. I couldn't pack them carefully in the attic where I wouldn't see them every day. So I left them there, visible reminders of the life I had lost. Her stuffed rabbit. Her pink bicycle with training wheels. The toy kitchen I had assembled one Christmas Eve at 3 in the morning, my hands bleeding from the tiny screws. A letter came from the school. Emma had transferred to a new school district. They thanked me for my dedication and loyalty to Emma during her time there. They said she was a bright, kind child who had been a joy to teach. I read that letter over and over. I folded it carefully and placed it in a box labeled My Daughter. Inside that box were other things. Her birth certificate, the hospital bracelet from the day she was born, photographs from her first day of school, her first loose tooth wrapped in tissue paper, drawings she had made with me guiding her little hands. That box became my most precious possession. It was proof that she existed. Proof that I had been her mother. Proof that I was real. I opened the box sometimes at night and just looked at everything inside. I held the stuffed rabbit against my chest and tried to breathe. Some nights I couldn't breathe. Some nights I thought I should just stop trying. I started volunteering at a foster care facility 6 months after Emma was taken. I told myself it was because I wanted to help children who had been hurt. But really it was because I needed to be around anyone, who understood what it meant to be abandoned. The kids at the facility were broken in ways that matched my own brokenness. There was a 5-year-old boy named Marcus whose mother had left him at a bus station. There was an 8-year-old girl named Sophie whose father had abused her. There was a teenager named David who had been in and out of homes so many times he had stopped hoping for safety. I sat with them and listened to their stories. I made them meals and helped them with homework and braided their hair. One day Marcus climbed into my lap and whispered, "You remind me of my mom." I held him close and felt something shift inside my chest. It was small. It was delicate. But it was there. It was the beginning of feeling alive again. My therapist, a kind woman named Dr. Reeves, said that helping other children was part of my healing. I wasn't sure I believed her. I thought I was just trying to fill the Emma-shaped hole in my heart with other people's children. But she kept insisting that there was value in it, that love didn't disappear just because one person was taken away, that it could flow to other people, that it could matter. I wasn't convinced, but I kept volunteering anyway. I went back to school. I was 39 years old and I went back to school to study child psychology. I wanted to understand what had happened to Emma. I wanted to understand how children internalize trauma, how they rewrite memories to survive, how they process abandonment. My professors were kind but challenging. They pushed me to think about my own pain as a tool for understanding others' pain. We studied attachment theory and learned that children form bonds with the people who care for them, and that separation from those people causes real, measurable damage to their developing brains. That knowledge was both comforting and devastating. It meant that Emma had loved me. It meant that being taken from me had hurt her. It meant that somewhere inside her childhood memory, even if Marissa had convinced her I was dead, some part of Emma remembered me as her mother. Late one night, I was studying in the library when I looked up at my reflection in the dark window. I was 39 years old. I had lost Emma when she was 10. For 9 years, I had been trying to fill myself with work and school and other people's children. None of it had worked. I whispered to my reflection, if she had to forget me to survive, then I forgive her. I meant it. And somehow, that forgiveness made the heartbreak slightly more bearable. I found Marissa's Facebook page by accident. I was looking at the foster care facilities page, and someone had tagged her in a photo. Marissa's profile was public, filled with pictures of a life that looked happy and put together. The most recent photo showed Emma. She was 16 years old and didn't look like the 10-year-old I had lost. She was taller. Her hair was longer. Her eyes had that teenage wariness that comes from growing up without feeling entirely safe. The caption read, "My miracle second chance. Emma is growing up so beautifully. She's my greatest gift. So grateful for second chances and fresh starts." I stared at that photo for an hour. Emma's smile looked real, but her eyes looked empty. There was something in her expression that I recognized. The look of someone who was performing happiness instead of feeling it. I knew that look. I had learned it myself over the last 9 years. I wanted to message her. I wanted to tell her that I was alive. I wanted to explain everything. But I knew that would be selfish. I would be opening a wound that Marissa had spent years closing. I would be confusing her. I would be making everything worse. So I closed the laptop and spent the rest of the day lying in bed. I was in a grocery store when I saw her. I was buying milk and bread and frozen vegetables, the diet of someone who barely ate, when I looked up and froze. It was Emma. She was standing in the produce section looking at apples taller than me now. She had Marissa's hair and my nose. She was so beautiful it hurt. I watched her for a moment and then our eyes met. She frowned. I saw recognition flicker across her face, like she was trying to place me. Like I looked familiar but she couldn't remember why. Then Marissa appeared beside her, gripping her arm. "Come on, Em. We need to go." Emma looked back at me one more time and then they were gone. I stood in the produce section for 20 minutes holding a gallon of milk, unable to move. That night I drove to the beach and screamed into the waves. I screamed until my voice was gone. I screamed all the things I couldn't say, to Marissa, to Emma, to the judge who had taken her away, to myself for being powerless. In the morning, I applied to a doctoral program in child psychology. I decided I would spend my life helping children who had been damaged by loss and abandonment. I couldn't get Emma back. But maybe I could save someone else's daughter. Maybe I could do what the system had failed to do for Emma. Maybe I could protect other children from the kind of pain I knew. Years passed. I finished my master's degree. I completed my doctoral dissertation on childhood trauma and memory reconstruction. I started my own practice, specializing in children who had experienced emotional abandonment. I became Dr. Caroline Hale, child psychologist. I was good at my job. Families referred their children to me. Children who had been through divorce, abuse, neglect, and loss would sit in my office and tell me their stories. I listened. I learned. I helped them understand that their pain wasn't their fault. That love wasn't something you could be too broken to receive. I never told them about Emma. But every child I helped was partially for her. Every breakthrough, every moment when a child realized they were worthy of love and protection, that was for Emma. I built a life that didn't include her but was entirely shaped by losing her. My success was measured in the caliber of pain I could hold without breaking. My peace was built on the foundation of heartbreak. Then one day, I received an email from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line read, "Do you know a woman named Caroline Hale?" My hand shook as I opened it. The email was short. "I think my mom's lying to me about something. Do you know a woman named Caroline Hale? My grandmother mentioned the name once. I looked you up and found your psychology practice. Please respond if you know her." The email was from Emma. I stared at that email for 3 days. I didn't respond. I told my therapist that I didn't know what to do. She said I needed to think about what was best for Emma, not what I wanted. "What do you want?" she asked. "I want to tell her everything," I said. "I want to tell her that I raised her, that I loved her, that I never stopped loving her. I want to tell her that I'm not dead." And what does Emma need? I thought about Emma's email. She was searching for answers. She was questioning the story she'd been told. Some part of her remembered me, or suspected that she should remember me. She was ready. "She needs the truth," I said. My therapist nodded. "Then give it to her." I wrote back, "Yes, I knew you once. I loved you very much." Emma's questions came slowly at first. She asked about her birthday. She asked about childhood pets. She asked about things that only someone who had been there would know. I answered each question carefully. I told her about her 3rd birthday when she ate frosting and got it all over her face and laughed so hard she cried. I told her about the goldfish we got when she was 5 that died after 2 weeks and we had a funeral in the backyard. I told her about the time she fell off her bicycle and scraped her knee and I cleaned it up and kissed it better. Each memory was a brick in the wall of truth I was building. Then Emma asked, "She told me you died." I paused before answering. I needed to be careful here. I needed to tell the truth without making Marissa into a villain. "I did die," I wrote, "in a way. I died for her. But never to me. And never to you even when I couldn't be with you. I never stopped being your mother, Emma. I never stopped loving you." Emma started asking about Marissa. She wanted to know the real story of why I wasn't around. She wanted to know about the custody case. She wanted to know about the morning I was taken away from her. I told her the truth. I told her that Marissa had taken her to court and won custody. I told her that I didn't have legal standing because I wasn't her biological parent. I told her that it wasn't anyone's fault exactly, but it was also deeply unfair. "Did you try to fight?" Emma asked. "Yes," I said. "I fought with everything I had. But the law didn't recognize me as your mother. Only Marissa had legal rights to you." Emma went silent for a week after that. I was terrified she would disappear, that she would decide the truth was too complicated, that she would choose to believe her mother's story instead. Then she sent me a message. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry for believing her. I think I remember you now. Not clearly, but in little pieces. I remember someone holding me during thunderstorms. I remember pancakes on Saturday mornings. I remember someone braiding my hair. I cried when I read that. I cried so hard I couldn't see my computer screen." She remembered me. After 9 years of being told I was dead, she remembered. Emma snuck to her grandmother's house on a Saturday afternoon. In the attic, she found old photographs. There were pictures of me and her together, pictures of the house I had bought, pictures of birthday parties and school events and ordinary moments of ordinary life. There were also letters. Letters I had written to her that her grandmother had kept but never shown her. Letters I had written the year after she was taken, pouring out everything I couldn't say to anyone else. She found my old locket in a box. The picture inside was still intact. The chain had been thrown away, but the locket survived. And inside, preserved perfectly, was the photograph of the two of us laughing at the beach. Emma sent me a photograph of the locket. "I found this," she wrote. "I found the picture inside." When Emma confronted Marissa, I wasn't there to see it. But Emma told me about it later. She asked Marissa why she had lied. She asked her why she had told her I was dead. She asked her why she had hidden the photographs and letters. Marissa broke. She screamed and cried and shifted blame. She said I was trying to steal Emma from her. She said she was protecting Emma. She said she was doing what was best. "You lied," Emma said quietly. "You stole me from her." Marissa slapped the table. A vase broke. The whole constructed reality that she had built crumbled in an instant. Emma walked out and didn't come back. The knock on my clinic door came on a Thursday afternoon. I was finishing up with a client, a young girl who had been abandoned by her father. I walked the girl to her mother and watched them leave. Then I turned to see who was waiting. Emma stood in my doorway. She was trembling. She was holding the stuffed rabbit, the one I had kept all these years and that somehow had made its way to her. We didn't speak for a full minute. I couldn't speak. I was afraid if I opened my mouth, the moment would shatter. Then Emma whispered, "Mom." I collapsed into her arms. I don't remember crossing the space between us. I just remember holding her and crying and feeling like every broken piece of me was finally being put back together. "Hi, baby," I said. "I'm so sorry it took so long." "I'm sorry too," she said. "I'm sorry I forgot you." "You didn't forget," I said. "You survived. That's what you had to do, and you did it perfectly." Marissa tried to contact me after Emma moved in with me. She sent emails and texts and even showed up at my office. She wanted to explain. She wanted to apologize. She wanted to make things right. I didn't respond to any of it. I was too busy helping Emma heal from the damage that Marissa had caused. I was too busy helping her understand that she wasn't responsible for her mother's lies. I was too busy being a mother again. One message came that I did read. Marissa wrote, "You always wanted to be me. Now you can have her. I'm sorry I took her away. I'm sorry for everything." I didn't write back. There was nothing to say that would matter. Marissa had lost her daughter not because I had one, but because she had lied. And some lies are too big to come back from. I wrote a letter to myself. I wrote it knowing I would never send it, knowing it was just for me. I wrote, "To the woman who raised another's child and lost everything, you didn't lose. You loved without condition. You gave without expectation of return. You stayed even when staying broke you. And love always finds its way back. Always." I framed that letter and hung it on the wall of my office. Every client who came through my door saw it. And many of them would pause and read it, tears in their eyes, understanding something about resilience and hope that they needed to know. Emma saw it one day while waiting for me to finish with a client. She read it quietly and then looked at me. "Did you write that?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "It's beautiful," she said. "It's true too. Love did find its way back. It found me." 3 years later, Emma and I opened the Emma Project, a nonprofit dedicated to helping foster children and abandoned kids. We worked with social services with foster families with children who had been displaced and traumatized by loss. At the opening ceremony, Emma stood in front of a room full of supporters and told her story. She talked about being told her mother was dead. She talked about discovering the truth. She talked about rebuilding her relationship with me. "My mom taught me," Emma said, "that real mothers are the ones who stay. They stay when it's hard. They stay when the law says they can't. They stay even when it would be easier to leave." That's what Caroline did. She stayed in my heart, even when she couldn't be in my life. The audience applauded. I sat in the front row with tears streaming down my face. Emma smiled at me from the stage. Then she said, "I used to think that losing my mom was the worst thing that could happen to me. But now I understand that it wasn't about losing her. It was about finding her again. and learning that love is stronger than any lie ever told. That night, Emma and I sat on the back porch of the house we now shared. The same house I had bought all those years ago. The same house where I had painted walls yellow while she laughed. The same house that had waited for her to come home. "Thank you," Emma said. "For what?" I asked. "For not giving up," she said. "For staying alive. For becoming someone I could find." I took her hand. I would have waited forever. And I meant it. I absolutely meant it.